at the age of 50, I got serious about saving money and investing, and it has paid off with early retirement, mini retirement, post retirement. I'll let you know. So the actual money, the way I keep track of it, or the way I've kept track of it, I need to get better at it. I never really had a budget. I was not that great. I mean, I kept things on my computer. I know what my expenses are for the year, and I'll show you that too. But what I'm going to put up now is the graph that I originally made. This has been on my corkboard for 6 years, 7 years almost. I'm looking at it, and I'll just go through it real quick of what I saved every year and how my portfolio grew or decreased, because it did. So let's go through the numbers year by year. I started in 2018, started with 70,000. At the end of the year, I had 112,000. The actual change in my portfolio that year from January to December was 42K, and I contributed 47K. So I actually lost 5K because of the stock market went down that year. 2019 started with 112K. At the end of that year, I had 185K. The change in my accounts was 73,000. I contributed 45,000. The growth for that year was 28,000. 2020, the third year that I was investing hard, started with 185, ended with 285 for an actual change of 100K, and I contributed 43,000. So that means that year, the growth and dividends from all my accounts, my portfolio, was $57,000. That happened because I started building up a bigger total. I mean, I started off with almost $200,000. So when you get that much in your portfolio, if you have a brokerage account or a 403 or a 401k, that starts making its own money, and that's compound interest. It just keeps on making its own money. That money adds to the total, and then you make money off the total, and then that adds to the total. It's amazing. It's powerful. And once you get to a certain level, even if you don't contribute, you're making big money every year. I shouldn't say every year, and you'll see that coming up. 2021, that year, I went from 285 to 373. The actual change was 88,000. I contributed 28,000. The growth in performance that year was 60,000. And again, here's what I'm talking about. Stock market. You can't count on it making money every year. You can count on it making money long term, but it's volatile in the short term. It can go up and down, and it can make big swings in the short term. So 2022 started off with 373,000 and ended with 350,000, down 23,000. And I put in 40,000 that year. So the 40 and the 23 was all a loss. So I actually lost 63,000 that year. Now, a lot of people, something like that happens, and the first thing they think is, I got to get out of this stock market. I just lost $63,000. No, stay the course. This is what I learned, and this is how I came to trust the stock market as a way to build wealth. That was backed up by reading J.L. Collins' Simple Path to Wealth, all the other books I read, all the blogs I read, all the videos I watched. Everything talks about staying the course, staying invested. Don't get scared out of the stock market because it has a bad year or two. Stay in and you'll recover. And next year, I'll show you exactly why you should stay in. 2023, year after losing $63,000. Started off at 350, ended with 498 for an actual change, an actual positive change of $148,000. And I contributed the same as I'd done the year before, $40K. So growth in performance that year was $108,000. And considering I lost 63 the year before, it's kind of right where it should be. If you split that in half and put half of it back toward last year, then it's around $60,000 that I made both years. So if you have a bad year in the stock market, or if you're scared of losing money in the stock market, don't worry about it. Especially if you're in the phase where you're still investing and you don't need the money. Who cares if it goes down? If it goes down, put more money in, because it's going to come back up. So that's how I went from 70,000 to $500,000 in 6 years. Over those 6 years, from 70,000 to 498,000, I put in 242,000. It's growing on its own was $186,000. That's the difference between saving and investing. $186,000. One other thing I wanted to say about the graph, I almost forgot this. The open circles on the graph, that was my estimation of what I thought that I would make over time. When I first started this at 50, my thought is that I would have over $1 million by the time I was 65, and at 50, that's when I was thinking I would retire. This year, 2024. So I handed in my resignation in the beginning of May, quit my job on June 7th. This year so far, I put in $15,000 between my personal brokerage account and my 403B at work. My portfolio on January 1st this year was $498,000. I just looked at it yesterday, and it was $555,000, little over $500,000. Minus the $15,000 that I had put in this year, that's $40,000 in growth. If I could rely on that happening every year, then I could actually retire and not even just stop calling this a mini retirement and say, I'm just retiring. So you can do it. You don't have to do what I did.